So we talked kind of in the last section about content, what constitutes creating great stuff, how to create stuff that's honest, and where to look to get ideas to create great stuff. And because we use so much of our social influence and because we use so much of our content to market our products, we really kind of use some of the same methods for content validation that we do for product validation. It's all the same. It's finding what works for people, what hits those emotional triggers, and what gets people really motivated and interested to learn from you and then eventually buy. And so now I want to talk a little bit about email marketing strategy. This is something that we're really strong at. And I want to talk about how we think about email marketing, how we think about copywriting, and how we think about persuasion in the written form. Will's right. Maybe writing and literacy rates will go down. But I do think that no matter what, there's always going to be some sort of written component to human communication, just because sometimes it's the most effective way to communicate something. Video is very rich, and that's why you also have video sales letters. But video sales letters need to be written first before they can be translated. So writing always is the basis of something that even that's shot or that's recorded. So there's always going to be some form of communication that becomes a word. I wanted to dispel some of the myths about email marketing and talk a little bit about realistic expectations for building your email list, for developing your brand, for persuading people over time. And this is something that Will touch on when he talks today about Startup Bros and kind of the journey that he took over the past 4 years to get to where he is now. A lot of it is not necessarily only based on email marketing, but on the long game in general, the idea of the long game. When you approach building an audience, and especially building an audience that at one point you're going to sell to, one of the easiest traps to fall into is the make money now trap. And to be honest with you, that's partially my fault. That's partially marketers' faults, because one of the best ways to get people to pay attention is to say that you can get to a result quickly. But the reality of the situation doesn't always match up with the hype and the promise. And that's because things take a long time, especially considering the fact that markets are changing now. Interests are becoming even more niche. Followings are, diverging. I talked a little bit about how our market changed over the past, 2 years and how we've had to make adjustments to that. And so all of this that we're talking about now with email marketing, and really kind of email being one piece, but marketing in general, is a long-term play. And everything that you do is going to be an action and then a reaction to the response that you get. So when you're writing things, you're not just writing from a vacuum. You're not just creating things that market from a vacuum of this is what I want to say. You're thinking to yourself, what does the audience need to hear? What's honest? And what can I use to both show them that we have a good thing that we're selling or that we're offering, but also, persuade them in a way that's going to be convincing enough to make our stuff stand out above and beyond the competitors, because there's more and more competitors since the barrier to entry is getting lower. So this is all the long game. If you're in this because you want to make a certain amount, X amount of dollars very quickly, it doesn't mean that you won't, but you are setting yourself up for disappointment. I think one of the best mentalities to kind of take with this is just to think about this as a feedback system and continually improving on the feedback system. But there's nothing, you're never losing. You're always just iterating and improving. So just a general framework for thinking about your marketing. 2 things specifically we're talking about. One, when it comes to email marketing, positioning is huge. So positioning is the biggest thing that you're going to really need to identify outside of your demographic. So I talked, maybe 30 or minutes or so ago about how finding the right people to buy your stuff is the most important thing. Because if you find the right people, sometimes even if your message isn't 100% clear, they'll buy from you. So for instance, anyone here seen Ty Lopez's stuff? Yeah, you can't not, because he's spending a lot of money for you to see it. And I don't have anything against Ty personally. He's a nice guy, met him a couple times. Nothing against him personally, but the idea of very broad entrepreneurship, you can succeed without a lot of details, is a big catch-all. And it's one position, but I think that you'll find as you kind of go along your journey, you need to get a little bit more specific with what it is that you're offering, and this is what positioning is. So whenever you're marketing to people, especially via email, we're thinking about positioning and how to show people that you have the exact solution to the problem. Then the second thing is, we're going to talk about how the marketing and sales process actually works within the ecosystem of email marketing. And just to kind of back up, as we kind of think about email as the central point here, I want to also illuminate some other points to you. one kind of faux pas, I don't know how to spell that, F-A-U-X, one faux pas that people make with any type of marketing is mistaking the marketing for the business. So for instance, if you do webinars to make sales, webinars are not the business, webinars are a sales channel. There's lots of ways to make money or to make sales. So you have email marketing, and email marketing may or may not feed into webinars. Those are just live events. You also have in-person stuff. You have phone sales. You have direct mail with letters that actually still works. We should try that shit. Physical letters still work. There's lots of ways to get your message out and to sell stuff. Email marketing is one method. It's not the business, it is an element of the business. And all successful businesses are gonna have multiple ways that they attract customers. Just like with marketing in general, here's a little tidbit to write down, and it kind of correlates with different elements that you need. Whenever you're marketing yourself, you need 3 core elements in terms of marketing. You need paid media, owned media, and earned media, right? Paid media, what's that? Anything that you're paying for to get leads. Facebook, Google PPC, Instagram ads, all things like that. Everyone needs paid media at some point, but it's usually not the first thing. The first thing you probably need is owned media, okay? Owned media are things that you create. Your blog, your videos, your podcasts, your witty remarks, whatever it is that you create, you own that. No one can take that away from you. Your email list, as you build it, is a source to pump out your owned media, right? You own that. And then there's earned media, nice things people say about you. So you get a feature or a link back in Huffington Post. You use Front Page Formula, our very inexpensive product, to figure out how to get into Entrepreneur Magazine. And you get in there and you start writing. That's earned media, right? So these are the 3 elements you need. And just like having only one channel isn't the best way for any business, having one sales process is probably not the smartest way, but email marketing is just one of those ways, just to put it in context. So if you're not a great copywriter, if you don't have a huge email list, if you're not really enthused by the elements involved in email marketing, just remember that it's only one way. And if we have time, I'll talk to you about the phone sales we're gonna start doing, which is top secret. Okay, so 4 elements of the sales process. Kind of the lead in, the warm up, the sale, and the delivery. First of all, the draw in. What is this? This is your content. This is your relationship. One thing I think is worth mentioning here, and that is a very relevant point for how we're changing the way we do our business. And I was talking with LaMonica and Brian about this at the break, and Colin. This is how we're treating our Facebook community and that ecosystem as a way to balance out and bounce back from some pretty aggressive email marketing sometimes. So we have our email list. There's a lot of people on it now. Traditionally, as an email marketer, we think about our email list and we say, what do I want to send out today? Do I want to send content or do I want to send marketing stuff? And you have to pick between one or the other. And there's always this fear that you're either selling too much, they're not going to like it, they're not going to open it, it's not good enough, or there's a fear that you're not giving away, that they're not going to like your content, or you're not giving away enough value. Or there's a fear that you're not selling maybe even enough. It's on the other side. I'm not selling enough. I need to sell more. There's always a balance to strike. And that's because when you have one channel as kind of an email only channel, that's your only option. So what we're doing now to draw people in is we're using the Facebook community as a way to balance out our sales and our marketing emails. So if you guys notice in the Facebook group, I'm posting an article every single day on my personal profile in the Facebook group. You guys see that I posted one this morning, right? I got up and I wrote that. Yeah. You were downstairs, I went upstairs and I wrote it. I never miss a day. I don't miss a day. And here's something that you can take away from that. If you look at what we do with the Facebook group, you can see that 99% of the time, unless it's vitally important, I never advertise in there. I never talk about our products. If I mention them, I usually don't link to them. I do that for a reason. I do that because we now have a sizable Facebook group, which we'll have time and I'll talk about how we did that, but we have a sizable Facebook group and we have a sizable email list. And because our Facebook group has grown to a point where it's a viable community, I can continue to put out personal, non-sales content in there, and it creates such a good vibe with the people who are reading that, watching that, and consuming that, that the open rates in the inbox improve because people see all my good stuff I'm giving away on Facebook, and they're more likely to open up emails in the inbox. And also, it allows me to, in all honesty, feel okay about selling more aggressively in the inbox because I'm already giving out so much good free stuff in Facebook. And here's something interesting that most people probably wouldn't know just by looking at our Facebook group and looking. And well, you guys can't see behind the scenes on the inbox or on the email system until we show you today. But our email list now is like 135,000, and our open rates are okay. They're like 10 to 15% on a given day. It's okay. As the email list has grown, that open rate has gone down significantly. When I had an email list of like 10,000 or below, I was getting like 30% open rates, 40 on a good email. Now, there's no way in hell I'm going to get that open rate because a lot of people just sign up to get one thing from you and never open again. And we already cleaned our email list of 30,000 people. So we are scrubbing it. We cut 30,000 people, let them go, and we're going to cut probably another 30 or 40,000 more eventually because we want to keep our list clean. But you'll find that about every email we send gets about 15,000 opens on average. And there are 15,000 people in the Facebook group. What do you think is happening here? The same people that are in the Facebook group and on the Facebook community are the same ones that are opening the emails. So there's this correlation between the value that you put out and who opens the emails. And so that's the method that we're using for our drawing now. Either way, you have to put out good stuff to get people to pay attention to you. And the way that you do this is as you're building your email list, especially in the beginning, you gotta focus on value. And I don't wanna get like ambiguous about this, so let me be specific. For the first 2 years of Rich 20, I wouldn't really even call it a company because I didn't sell anything. It was just a blog, and I was just giving away free stuff. One, because I didn't know if I was going to sell anything, and two, because I was scared, and three, because I wasn't ready to have a product. So for those 2 years of building up that value, there was so much draw-in that it was very easy to eventually start selling. It gets more complex as you go along, but that draw-in is really important. So just make sure that at the forefront of your thoughts when you're building an email list, when you're creating content that works, Alicia, I hope you're Snapchatting this, when you're building your email list and you're delivering content that works, the value is the most important thing because people are getting so much content now that if you're not useful, there's no hard feelings. They'll just unsubscribe. They'll just stop following you. You're not special anymore. Being a marketer is not special. Having a website is not special. Having a big social media presence is not special. It's not special anymore. So the only way that you can become well-known, respected, and noticed, one of the best ways to get well-known, respected, and noticed is to put out so much good stuff consistently that you're like a cutting knife through all the bullshit that everyone sees and hears, and you're consistently giving away good stuff. Maybe they won't read your first email, maybe they won't read your first post, maybe they won't see the first thing, but when you keep coming day after day after day, so finally people will say like, man, he just keeps putting out good stuff. All right, let me check out this thing. So we go to the warm-up phase after that. This is when you're getting ready to sell something to people. This is when you're getting ready to launch something or you're getting ready to make an offer, right? And obviously, then leads the offer and then goes to the delivery of the product. So let's kind of dig into each one of those. So here are a couple ways that you can draw people in. Once you have content that people are into, that they're focused on and paying attention, a lot of times, if the content's really good, you don't always need a direct CTA. I'm going to advise you to have one, and just like Will was saying, I don't necessarily agree with this advice, but here's the reason why I'm saying it. Because I know how I act. If I see a piece of content I really like from, let's say, from Gary Vee, he doesn't say, subscribe to my channel. I'll just be like, that was dope, I want to subscribe. Because we're not robots. I think marketers have this assumption that like, if I don't tell them exactly what to fucking do, they can't work the internet. I know how to subscribe to something. Yeah. There's a big red button. YouTube already designed that for you. So if I like something, I'm going to sign up for your email list. I'm going to sign up for your podcast.
Right, if you see value, you don't need to say it every single time.
I'm a human. I get it. That's why I give out Facebook notes and I do the blog posts and there's no call to action. I just want you to know that it's there and it's good and you'll find my stuff. You know where it's at, And also you guys are my audience already, but there's nothing to do, which is refreshing in this age, by the way. Nothing to do. Just here's some things for you. So as you're kind of going through this process, you've drawn people in with great content. Now we're warming them up, getting them ready for the sale. You need to build rapport with people. It doesn't matter what your medium is, meaning that it's a podcast or video or blogs or whatever it is. You need to build rapport with them, and especially leading up to a sales process, it's important that you really kind of pour it on even more. If anything, just so that people realize that, one, wow, you really are giving me valuable content, and two, in a way, it preconditions people to get ready to buy because, again, we're all humans here. We've all bought stuff online. So we know that people online who make content sell things. We do know that there is that component of it. I don't think anyone's surprised by the fact that, you get an email for a course or someone asks you to buy something online anymore. Back in 2005, 6, 7, when this stuff was much fresher and younger, you had to really direct people. And now we are at the sales week. Click on this button. Go to this page. Big red circle around the thing. Bullet points. We'll still have all those elements, but you guys get it. You guys get it. You're not dumb. You've been doing this for a while. Whoever your target audience is, you're not the first one to try to sell them the same thing that you're about to sell them. So they know. So you want to warm them up, but when you warm them up, it's also subtly letting them know that you're about to sell them. And most people are okay with that. You're still going to get people who are like, fuck you, I don't want to hear from you, I don't want to buy your stuff. But that's fine. You didn't lose anything because they weren't going to buy anyway. So if they leave, it doesn't matter. It just hurts your feelings, it doesn't matter. And in many cases, what we do to set up this warm-up sequence, again, just speaking about emails here, is we set up an autoresponder sequence. An autoresponder sequence is just a chain of emails that introduces and then eventually sells the product. And we'll go into detail about what that looks like. But this is the element that we start with. We start with thinking, what's going to be in the autoresponder? And this does a couple things. One, it helps us to organize our thoughts and logically plan which step in the marketing process we want to address first. And it also kind of takes some of the pressure off of us so that if we have a well-constructed autoresponder sequence, we don't need to send emails every day. We can just set it and not really forget it, but set it and just watch it. We don't ever really forget it. It's there. So when you're talking about warming up your subscribers, your readers, one of the best ways to kind of get them into buying mode, even if you're not ready to sell them something, is an autoresponder sequence, even if it's not attached to a sales sequence. So if you go to Rich 20 or something right now, what we do is there's a 7-day autoresponder that is like the secret, we call it the secret side. It's like the freelancer secret portal. And every day you get an email, you get 7 emails total, and this is warm-up content. Now before I had anything to sell, I already had this autoresponder set up because I knew that I wanted to warm people up so that eventually when I wanted to sell something, they'd gotten some of my best material. So this is the mindset that I went into before I had anything to sell. The first thing I did was I set up an autoresponder sequence that didn't sell anything, that just warmed people up to the cool stuff I had to offer. And then after that, I was emailing about once per week. You want to keep constant contact with your list. So for instance, Alicia, you have an email list, 2,000 people, something like that? 1,500. Yeah, and you're working on emailing them more, right? Yeah. What did you notice, and you don't have to get into specifics, but what did you notice that happened to the responsiveness when you stopped emailing your list consistently, and how did they respond to when you started picking back up the pace again?
Yeah, well, people kind of just didn't know how they ended up on my list. Or just it was very low open rate. So
how long did you stop really emailing for?
I think it was over a year. Where I
really?
Left people on my
You went that long? Oh, I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, and so people didn't know who I was. So recently, a couple months ago, I just kind of scraped my list from people who weren't that responsive. I just cleared them out because a while. Previously, I used to be scared for people to opt out and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just took that personally. But now I actually don't care. I would want people to opt out if they don't really like my stuff. So now I've been trying to be consistent with emailing people once a week.
Trying to be consistent.
I know, I know. But what I noticed, I actually copied one of Daniel's funnels. This is a different one. It was a coaching funnel. And I sent it to my list. And I kind of let it automate and do its thing. And on top of emailing people frequently for 2 months, I was emailing them once a week. And then with Daniel's emails, because his copy is dope, I had a CTA in one of those, and I had to me this is good, I had 10 people respond when I was hey, reply and let me know what you're looking for in a mentor. And I was surprised when people actually gave me detailed responses. I was dang, nobody replied to me before. So I just think that was a big lesson in okay, I need to really kick it up and be consistent and be writing every morning. And I think those are things that when we hear them, we're oh yeah, well what's the real secret? And it's that is really what you
That's
do.
it.
Yeah.
Class closed, that's it. And and I wish there was a better way. I guess the secret is that or money. If you have a lot of money, you can waste a lot of money, but it'll also get easier. And that's kind of also the Tai Lopez thing too. I was talking with Manish about this last night. there's a certain amount of genius in what he's been able to do in terms of like getting in front of so many people and really kind of creating something out of nothing. But behind that, there's a lot of money too. So if you feel like you're putting out a lot of content and it's not getting shared, and you're like, I got 60,000 views in 30 minutes. I suck. There's a lot of money pushing that content to the top of everyone's. Oh, he's putting in millions and millions of dollars a year, millions, like tens of millions of dollars just in the marketing.
Why he reached the whole entire United States, that's why.
Yeah, exactly.
His entire demographic. He spent 16.7 million on YouTube ads, reached every single member of his target demographic.
Yeah, you're going. Yeah.
In
Yeah.
2 months. And that's why no one knew about him.
Yeah.
16.7.
But
But
he's got to be working with an investor about,
Well,
with that.
here's what it was. It's something called a self-liquidating offer. So he has a 67 steps program. Basically, he spent every single dime he made from that program on ads, and then he just kept on doing that until it stopped paying itself off. So once he started losing money, he just stopped spending money on ads. So he didn't actually make any money, but he got so much exposure. Exactly.
Well, I mean, that's a long-term play though, because that exposure people don't forget about you. You're there.
Yeah.
Everyone knows.
He's a meme now.
Yeah, he's a meme now. So if you're ever feeling like nervous or upset that yours isn't getting the type of boost you want, and you're like, I'm being consistent and I got 2 shares, money, but don't let that be a barrier, because there's still plenty of ways to get ahead with great stuff. And, I guess fortunately and unfortunately, it forces, lack of like money in the beginning forces you to think about really good stuff to make. Because if you don't have good stuff, or you just have mediocre stuff, but you spend a lot of money on it, you can still get a lot of exposure. But it doesn't mean that what you're putting out is good. Like, I can spend $1,000 to boost a Facebook post, and it will get a lot of likes and shares. It doesn't mean that it was a good post. It means that I just forced it in front of enough people where they're like, Eventually, you'll start liking stuff just to like stuff. So just take a deep breath and just know that that the consistency really is the secret, and the money a lot of times is behind what's happening with a lot of these people who blow up overnight. And a lot of times the way that they fund these things is they'll spend all the money that they have on the ads, then use the money that they make from whatever sale they just created to fund back into ads and into cycle. But that's not a game that we need to play, because it's not the only game in town. And it's probably not, it's a long-term strategy that works for a very few amount of people, a very small number of people, but it's certainly not the only game. So that being said though, as you're building this and as you're warming them up, make sure that you're contacting people enough to where they don't forget who you are, to where they feel comfortable emailing you back and replying. You want to start this conversation. With Rich 20, over the 2 years where I wasn't selling anything, I was essentially keeping everyone in a warm-up sequence by emailing all the time. And you start to build personal relationships with people. I mean, Rob, we met, 4 years? Like, 4 years. Yeah, 4 years ago. And it was just constant conversation, and you create lifelong friends and you create a business out of that. So don't go too long without touching in with your people. This is important.
Yeah, can I add something? This is about the money spending. Because I slightly disagree with your point where it's like you pour money into it, you can get eyes, which you can, but I think, like you said, you should kind of like wait and not pour money into it immediately. But I think one thing to note is that you started boosting your posts after you kind of validated that people like what you have to write about. So I would, I think you had a post that like did really, really well, and then you decided to drive ads to it because it was already like a proven post that people like. So I would say continue to write your content for free, and then you may have an article that blows up that you may want to start directing traffic to, and you can then pay for ads and push people to that post that's doing really well.
Yeah, validate it first. So for instance, like let's say you're just doing this for your personal Facebook list, or your personal Facebook friends list, or you have a small email list and you want to send them a blog post. You just have a one piece of content and a small following, and you send that out. Have you guys ever noticed that you post something on Facebook or you share something with people, and for whatever reason, most of the things you do get like 10 likes, but this gets like 40 or 50, and you're just like, okay, something happened there. I don't know what it was. That's the spark of an idea. And I know this because when I was starting Rich 20, this is in 2012, 13, I posted a post called, what was it called? Frustrated, yeah, an open letter to frustrated 20-somethings, right? I posted it as a Facebook status, and I had maybe like 2,000 Facebook friends at the time, no one else. And I got like 44 likes, which for me, I was like, damn, 44 likes? Okay, yeah. Let me go ahead and reply to everyone in the comments. That's a lot for me. I was averaging like 12. You know, it's good for like a basketball game, but not as good for a. So I was like, okay, this is obviously relevant. Most of the people who are on my Facebook friends list are people my age, so they get it. And not only were the likes an indicator, but the comments. People were leaving like paragraphs of comments. I was like, oh, I've never gotten this person to leave a comment before. This is something. So then I took that whole post, that it was a status update, and I went to Matt and Jared under 30. I'm like, hey, this should be a blog. This should be a post because it worked. And then it blew up. And so that would be an example of a post that you would take and you'd say, oh, this for some reason this hit a nerve. Now let's spend money to boost this. Let's make an ad out of this. You know, so you do stuff that doesn't cost money to figure out what to spend money on. So when you're talking about the autoresponder sequence and warming people up, this is a general idea for how ours looks, but this is in Infusionsoft. So just to be clear here, this is just a software. This isn't something that yours needs to look like, but I want to show you the sequence. So what happens when someone signs up for our email list? The first thing they do is they get a thank you email. And what's in the thank you email? Do we have like other screenshots of these emails in here? Okay. Well, let me go. We can do it later if we need to, but the thank you email. What's the thank you email? What's the purpose of the thank you email? Write this stuff down. The first thing is to like, obviously thank them and reassure them that what they're going to now receive is the thing that they wanted. The thank you page that they land on, when they sign up for the email list, there's going to be a page that they're directed to afterwards. And then essentially these are timers when the next one goes out. You can see what we do with our warm-up sequence is we have everything set up so that no matter what day you sign up, the thank you series gets delivered on the same day. So like, let's say you sign up right here and you get your thank you email, which says, thanks, here's your thing that you wanted, here's what to look forward to over the next week. Then what we do is we say, run on any Monday, which is going to be the next Monday between early in the morning and late at night. And so what happens is if someone signs up on Sunday, they're going to get that email on Monday. If someone signs up on Tuesday, they're going to wait 5 or 6 days and get the next email on Monday. And we say that in the thank you email. We say, starting next Monday, you're going to get this series. And the reason why we do that is because it allows us to have everyone at the same place in the warm-up series, essentially, and then we can make references to specific times and days. So I know that when they get email 2, it's really the Tuesday email, and I can say, on Wednesday, you're going to get this. Remember when I said this on Monday? Well, here's what's going to happen on Thursday. And then I can say, on Tuesday, we're opening a course. So I use that just as a frame of reference to keep things in real time, even though it's automated. So we have emails every single day. And this is just a warm-up series which gives different pieces of content. And something worth showing here, which you guys have seen if you have automatic funnel formula, is that the warm-up series directs to this website. All the links in the warm-up series direct to this website. You guys have seen this, right? This is that's a horrible freeze frame. It's like the worst. I think I actually purposely froze it there because it's horrible. I want people to click to get it off. I wanted you to be just cringe. So all this stuff right here, this is the warm-up series. All directs back to this secret side. All this is a repurposed blog. Remember that 2 years I was talking about where I was just talking to Rob and I wasn't doing any selling? I took all those blog posts and I put them onto a secret side. So when people come for the first time to my website now, they're like, oh my God, he put together all this free content for me. This is basically like a course in and of itself. I get this for free, what? And all these are just articles that are repurposed as lessons in a free course. And there's a lot of things going on here. If you check out and you're kind of like astute about this, you can see, okay, well, these are articles I've written. I even have like a case study for my course, but it's kind of like buried in there. It's not front and center. You can see this is the freelance domination secret portal, so I'm giving subtle branding and awareness to the thing that's going to be presented later. Just like Coca-Cola will put their logo on a park bench. There's no call to action there. It's just Coca-Cola. Now you saw it. Keep moving. Same thing, FLD. There's no call to action. It's just there. So you recognize it. So when I say, hey, we're selling freelance domination, you're like, I think I've seen that somewhere. Now look down here. We have a bunch of free downloads. These are all the things, like I'm talking about value that we're delivering within that warm-up sequence and that warm-up series. And I didn't have to recreate these to make this secret side website. These are things I already wrote, and I just repackaged them because I figured if someone comes to my site, I want them to see my very best stuff. And I might as well package that very best stuff in a way that seems even more valuable, which is like this. If I just say, hey, check out my best blog posts, you might appreciate that. But people don't value blogs as much as they value a secret side with a mini course. Just positioning. of the offer, right? And also here I have a call to action to join the Rich Family community on Facebook, which is another way that I keep getting members. And you can see here, like on every ultimate guide to getting to networking or without networking. What is this? Oh, this is, see, these are literally just blog posts. And at the end of every, this is a long one, at the end of every one, another call to action, you know? And what do we have here? We have a few elements. We have like, you know, trust and social logos here. We have call to action for the Facebook community. We have some free downloads here. You know, we have links to other articles on my main website. So you can see like there's a lot of good stuff going on here, but these are essentially things I've already created. So it didn't take me much more time than just transferring the content. And that's why, guys, the content that we make, the things that we do, we're always thinking long term. These are assets. Everything that you create is an asset. It can always be reused. I like to think of Native Americans, how they would kill an animal and they would use every part of the animal. If they're killing a buffalo, they're going to use the hide, they're going to use the bone, they're going to use the meat. Use everything you create. I'll bring my computer out later and I'll show you guys more of my writing folders and the way that I write in the morning. And I have pages and pages and pages of writing that's never been published, but I look back through that material almost every day and I find something that I missed, that I'd written before, that becomes the nugget of a new article, that becomes the idea for a product, that becomes something that is useful to the community. I never let a piece of content or a piece of material go unaccounted for. And it all shows up someplace. So, and another thing to remember too, and we'll move on from this now, but another thing to remember is that our attention span for content is much, much lower because of the fact that there is so much content. So, you know, some people might get nervous and say, well, if someone's already read my blog article, wouldn't they be mad if they saw that blog article again in the secret side? Then they'll think I'm a fraud. No, they don't. No one thinks like that because no one, first of all, no one's read all your articles. You think people have read your articles, they've not. If they've read one or two of your articles, they haven't read the top 10 most likely. And if they've read the top 10, they probably have already bought from you, hopefully. You know, and you can use this stuff over and over again. So don't be afraid to use stuff that you've already written. You can't plagiarize yourself. It's your stuff. You know, you can use it wherever you want. All right, so a couple quick notes on here. In terms of the warm-up, so we talked about the secret side and that being kind of how we warm people up. In terms of how long you should spend warming people up and how much effort you should put into warming people up. We find that generally speaking, the warm-up series, there's a correlation between how much time you spend indoctrinating people and then how expensive the actual product is. If you're selling a $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 product, then you have to spend time giving people reasons why they should really consider it. I mean, especially our audience when we notice that like we have to change the way we sell things, but just in general, more expensive things require more explanation. So here's some things to write down in terms of like what you should look for in your marketing emails and what pain points you should hit. When you're writing marketing emails, a few things to consider. You want to hit things from an emotional perspective. So I want you to think about like as sappy and as emo as you can get and just be like 20% less. So you think like, what's going to happen to your kids and your family if you don't get this result, this product, this idea, this thing off the ground? What's going to happen in your personal life? What does it mean for you, you know, in your career? How does it reflect what you dreamed for yourself as a child? Like these are the core elements that people need to have touched, even if they don't know it, in order to feel comfortable buying something, because you want to feel like it fulfills a part of you that that previously was empty, and now you can fill with something that's useful and meaningful to you. So emotional pain points. The second one that you're writing in your, and this pretty much applies to both warm-up and sales content. We're talking about persuasional content in general here. Another pain point you want to hit as you're warming people up and getting them indoctrinated into your products and services is you want to make sure that you have case studies and testimonials. A lot of us in the beginning don't have these things. So there are two things you can do if you don't have case studies or testimonials, because every product or service needs some sort of like proof that it works. You can either run like a beta of your service where you get like, even if they're just family friends, people to try out what you have and then say something nice about it. Let's say that it's a course that you want to make and it takes a certain amount of time to see the course's results. So let's say you make a course on freelancing like I did and you run people through it. Maybe after they run through the course, they still haven't made any money yet with your course because freelancing takes a while. Well, if they can't say that they made any money, maybe you say, well, what did you like most about the course? Was it really easy for you to use? What myths did it destroy for you? How did it change the way that you looked at your business? Anything that you can get them positive to say about the course is something that's going to help you to write great warm-up and marketing content. This is all stuff that, again, goes into your sales page and your sales process as well. These are all the pain points. Remember when we talked about Reddit forums and BuzzSumo? Use those pain points you found from that research to figure out the right questions to ask people so that they'll say the right things, right? Testimonials, which I'm going to be getting testimonials from everyone here, and that's what everyone should do. But testimonials, as long as they're truthful from that person and you're not like scripting them out, you can feed people. You can say, I need a testimonial on why this price is valuable. So you can say to someone off camera or even on camera, do you think this was the cost was, worth the value? You feed them and they say, absolutely, yes. Don't wait for them to say what you want them to say. Ask them what you want them to say. If you absolutely can't get a beta group going or you can't get any testimonials or case studies, look for other areas in your industry where either your exact product or product and service like yours has worked, and find things in the real world that correlate with your results. So Manish can talk about this as well, because he's running, when he went on Shark Tank, one of his issues was he hadn't run any clinical trials specifically on Pavlok yet. So he took clinical trials from other relevant studies and used those to show that his premise was valid, especially in terms of like Pavlovian conditioning and things like that. That went left, but that's because of Mark Cuban. Either way, you need that stuff. Everyone needs to have proof, and it either has to be from you or from another valid source. So we have emotional pain points. We have case studies and testimonials. A lot of people are also going to want to see, because there's going to be lots of different types of people consuming your content. So what else are they going to want to see and hear from you in order to make a buying decision? Emotional pain point, case studies. What about like FAQs or is it right for you email? So a lot of times people have questions like basic stuff like, how long is it going to take? What's your refund policy? Like, do I have access to it forever? These are a lot of questions that we get as digital products. Is it available in this language? Does it work in my country? Again, your research will help you inform some of the questions people are going to ask, but people are going to want to see, in some cases, an FAQ email with everything that you can say in bullet form about what the product does or doesn't do. And I'd encourage you to make it as clear as possible, because I think one of the inclinations as marketers is that we want to get as many people as possible. So one mistake I made with Freelance Domination in the beginning was it is a freelancing course. People will come to me and say, well, it worked for e-commerce. And I'd be like, well, some of the concepts that I talk about in the course apply to sales, and you use sales in e-commerce. So I was stretching it, and I would get that customer, and sometimes they would refund, sometimes they wouldn't, but it created a disharmony in the types of people that we were getting into the groups, because they were asking questions that weren't relevant. They were asking for things that I couldn't provide them with. Asking for things I couldn't provide them with, and it overall wasn't a help to the business. So when you're answering FAQs or is this right for me type situation, just be as honest as you can. You don't want people who aren't. You don't want to just get the money just to get the money. You want to get people who are actually going to use the product, because you're going to probably have to refund the ones anyway. Now that being said, now that I've made that adjustment, years ago with being very clear about what it is that we offer, I still get people who will buy Freelance Domination and be like, I thought this was for e-commerce. I'm like, it says freelance. That's the first word of the product. So you're still going to get those bozos. So we have emotional pain points. We have case studies. We have FAQ type stuff. We also have samples, product samples, or like free gifts. So obviously, a lot of times you'll give a free gift to people to get them to opt in, but a lot of times as part of the sales process, you'll also give away a trial, a piece of the material that it is that you're selling, especially if it's a course, but there's other ways to do that too, depending. Like if you're building an app, a lot of times they have like the freemium model, which depends on if you agree with that, but that's a certain way to do it. And even in traditional stores, you guys know that you go to the store and you see free samples, that at least makes you say, okay, so I don't normally eat pastry puffs, but what do you got? And then you're like, pretty good. And you look at the box, and now you're making a buying decision, right? You haven't bought yet, but that's why this is a warm-up. It primes you to make a buying decision. So what we do with our course is we offer a piece of one module for free, and it's a really good piece. It's a piece about automated onboarding, which shows you how to schedule freelance clients in without having to talk to everyone directly. And typically what I do is I take the Eben Pagan model on this, and I say move the free line. So I take a really, really good piece of the course that should make people say, oh, if I get this for free, what do I get if I pay? You want to move that free line so close to the paid line that when people get your free thing, they're like, I should have paid for this. I feel weird about it, because it's really good. So that's the mentality you want to go into. So lots of different types of people are going to be in your kind of your world. You're going to have people that need the emotional trigger to be touched. You're going to have people that need the case study to prove that it works. You're going to have skeptical people who want to see FAQs. You're going to have people who want to see a piece of the product. Can we think of any other types of emails, pain points that we hit on, or things that we do?
Say this again.
So emotional, case study, FAQ, sample. Yeah, okay, so here's another important one too. This is called future casting. So this is allowing the reader or the customer to see into their future, help them project into their future, and show them the world without your product or service. So what you do is you take them on a journey. Imagine that it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now. You thought about buying Freelance Domination, you didn't. 3 months later, are you actually going to have that side business started? Because you told me when you came here that you wanted to start a freelance business. I gave you a week of this content. This is a little bit more aggressive, but it's something that some people need. I gave you a week of this content. And so now we're on the last email, and now it's time to make a decision. What's your life going to be like 3 months from now when you don't have any extra money coming in? Better yet, what would it be like 3 months from now if you knew you were making an extra $1,000 a month? What would you be able to do with that? And really paint the picture that could happen for them. It's almost like the ghost of Christmas past. I wrote one email with this format, and in your email service provider, you can use little codes to have people to insert the first name of a person. So it's like bracket name. When people sign up for your email list, you collect their name, then you can use a little code to insert their name in the email. So what I did was I wrote this. The subject line was a letter from future name. So whatever your name is, a letter from future Colin, right? And that's a pretty catchy subject line. You're like, oh wow, I want to read a letter from future Colin. So you open it up, and it says something like, "Dear Colin, this is you 3 months in the future. You didn't buy Freelance Domination, And then I go through all the stuff. I go through all the stuff that you're not getting and all the stuff that you could have gotten if you just took advantage of the very reasonable price of 3 payments of $497. So you want to make people see where their life could be or where it potentially won't be when they don't work with you. So yeah, as you figure out what your price and your position is, you're going to figure out how much of this you need to pour on. In a long sequence, in a big campaign with an expensive product, we might do all these variations. We might show you case studies, testimonials, give you a piece of the course, hit you emotionally, slap you with the future casting, give you some FAQs, and then we might even close it out on the last day, and we might say, we might get urgent. We might say, now is the time, urgent, closing now. Most people aren't going to open all your emails. So if you think that you're emailing too much, the reality is probably they'll only get 1 or 2 of the emails that you mail out, and most likely they're going to buy because of one little trigger that you hit. So it's okay if you email a lot, especially in a sales sequence, because most people are only going to open 1 out of every few emails anyway, and because there's so much content going in, people don't feel, they're not like looking at you and scowling at you. They don't really mind as long as what they see is what they need to hear. So, and everyone's going to need to hear something different. This is why we attack from all these different angles. And the people that are attracted to buy are going to buy it because you hit that pain point. So you got to make sure you hit them all.
So you're linking to the product in every one of them emails though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The sales email is linked to the product,
Yeah.
every time. Oh yeah, this is an interesting portion of like kind of creating that really good community effect around the products you're selling and kind of linking it back to creating good sales process. So one of the things that we realize is that even when you have good marketing, good emails, and people like your product, they're still going to get refunds. Typical refund rate, we shoot for under 10%. I don't know. Do you know what your refund rate is?
Yeah, it's higher than 10%.
Higher than 10%?
For 10%.
Well, you aim for. I'm not saying that ours has been lower recently, but it's been higher too. It's certainly been higher in the past. Typically, as you get more customers, your refund, it should go up, but sometimes it does.
Yeah,
because you just.
It also matters how you're kind of evolving the product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, really, refund rates dependent on the expectations of the product. Mm-hmm. If they expect like full service and it's a digital course, so like I thought I was gonna, So it just depends. But this is an important element that Alicia added in, and it's something to not overlook. If you want to keep people in your products and your services, aside from just having good emails, you got to have a good community. So one way that you can do that is for a product that you make. Even if it's a physical product, you can start a Facebook community around it to troubleshoot problems before they begin. Manisha's done a good job of this with the Pavlok group. It's a great way to have like crowdsourced customer support without having all the pressure on you to fix everything, especially before you're big enough to have a team. And this is a way that kind of augment and assist your emails to give you the confidence that when people buy, they're not just going to immediately refund. Plus, it's something that you can add to your sales process when you say, not only do we have this product, but we also have a community to support it. So it's a great add-in. Oh, this is one of our students, Chad. He wanted a refund, but he said, dude, I like being around these people so much that I don't actually want a refund. He sent an email asking us for a refund, and he said, you know what, never mind. I like being here too much. That's an important element to remember. All right, so we talked a little bit about this. This is something important though, and I want to talk about Boss Babe. Alex Wolf is a friend of mine. She runs Boss Babe. And she's done a very good job of really pinpointing in on her customers. So when you guys are writing your email content, really remember to think about who it is that you're writing to. One of the problems that you'll probably run into when you're writing your content is you'll sound a lot like yourself because you are you. So you're going to write from your perspective. But sometimes the market that you're trying to reach they're either not you at all or they're you at a different time. So for instance, with Rich 20, writing about freelancing now is harder for me because I don't really freelance anymore, not like I used to. I consult now, but it's like much higher level, and it's not. I'm not like looking for jobs on Elance, and so my mentality is different. And so I have to really keep in mind that the things that no longer excite me still excite a lot of people, and you have to kind of put yourself in the shoes of someone who hasn't yet accomplished the thing that you have already accomplished and are trying to help people with. If you're in really great shape and you're teaching people how to get in shape, you're going to naturally be biased to think, well, this is easy. Like I got a six pack, anyone can get it, But you have to remember where you were and who you were, and write emails to that person, not to who you are now. When I finished this Rich 20 book, April 17th, 2017, when I finished this book, I was so glad to get it out of the way because it was many months of me writing about things that I'd already kind of moved past in my life, and I felt like it was truly closing the chapter on that period in my life because I don't want to talk about freelancing anymore. I still will, because now what I've realized, the epiphany I've had, is that I am not the business. Rich 20 Something is its own thing. I am Daniel DiPiazza. I'm the founder and CEO, and I got to do whatever we can to make the fucking business survive. I don't care if I'm 45 and we have 20-year-olds coming in. It's the business. It's not me, And that's why I started up a personal website, which I haven't launched yet. I'll let you guys know when I do. I started up a personal website. The new version of Rich 20, when we relaunch that site in a few weeks, I'm not on the homepage. Well, I'm on the About page. I'm not on the homepage. I'm not like, I am Rich 20. Rich 20 is a company. And because of that, I had to think about the mentality of the prospective customer. I own under 30 and Rich 20. What does that mean? Between probably 18 and 29. Those are the people. Once I'm past that, I have to remember to think like those people, even if I'm not that person anymore. Remember that in your emails, in your warm-up, in your marketing, in your sales stuff. Alex does this very well. So one note to think about as you're kind of like trying to find things to relate to your audience with, to write about, make videos, to create content around. Don't always think about making something that goes viral. You can force something to go viral with money, but if you want something to go viral naturally, you have to think about creating something that's so good. And I stole this from Seth Godin because I emailed him and I asked him, how do I make something go viral? And he said, don't think about trying to make it go viral. Try to think about something that's so good that you can't go to sleep at night until you share it with one person, and make it so good that they can't sleep until they tell one more person. So you're just talking person to person. Like you said it was just so relatable and hit you so dead in the chest that you're like, oh, this is cool. And then you like it, and then you're gonna tell like a few friends, and they're gonna tell, and it's the network effect. So you're creating things for a one-on-one relationship with people that scales. And that's how you find things that hit in the center, and that's the mindset that you go into when you're writing your content, when you're writing your sales and marketing emails, when you're writing your warm-up stuff. That's how you become honest. So yeah, and we talked about helping your audience solve problems and pain points. When you think about the wording that you use to describe the pain points, think about specific problems, not just general problems. So like, yeah, moms want to lose weight, but do they just want to drop the weight, or do they want to fit back into their high school jeans, Or maybe not the high school ones, but like their pre-baby jeans, What's the exact problem that they're having? I started a business a while ago. It was really not even a business as much as a product called Busy Mom Skinny Jeans. And I mean, think about that. Think about the name of the product. Busy Mom Skinny Jeans is a product for moms to get in good shape quickly, especially after they've had a baby. And the whole idea there is not just about losing weight. It's about your specific person that has problems and challenges unlike anyone else. You're not just a woman looking to lose weight. You're someone who just had a baby. You're feeling self-conscious about the fact that your body has changed. You don't know if any of the things that are in the magazines or on the internet are going to work for you because they're not really targeted at you. They're just general. And you don't know if there's one place where you can get all that information at once. So we created a product to address that specific problem. And we went on places like there are websites like Mom Cafe and specific blogs dedicated to moms. And we would read paragraphs and they would be like, you know, I'm so embarrassed to look in the mirror because I see my stretch marks and I see the muffin top hanging over my pants and I don't know if I'm ever going to get back to the point where I feel good about myself again. So what do? We take that paragraph and we put it in our sales email. Do you ever feel like you're looking at yourself? Your stretch marks are, your stretch marks are horrible, and you have a muffin top hanging over. They're like, oh my God, yes! And they'll be like, how did you know? I read it on the forum. So, and that's one way you can find your target audience or relate to them without having to be them. Because I'll never be a busy mom, and I'll never get pregnant. Fingers crossed. So that's how you can relate to people. But it's not about weight loss. It's about getting back your body and your confidence after having a baby. It's a big difference, because you're not fat, you had a baby. It's a big difference, So, this is important too. Like, after you've kind of developed your audience, you've found the language that resonates with them, you've gotten specific. You still want to make sure. Again, every step of the way, we're negating risk. At this point, you should spend little or no money. A little bit when you feel like it's necessary, but not a ton. And the reason why is because at every step of the way, we want you to mitigate your risks so that what you're selling, is spot on, and you don't spend money you don't have to before it's time. And that's why you need to make sure that you test the interest in whatever it is that you're going to sell before you sell it. From the context of making a course, this is very easy. Just show hands in here. How many people want to make a course? Anybody? Course. Yeah, courses. Courses are big right now, and they're not going anywhere. People are going to always want courses. In fact, it's a really good market because not only are courses genuinely helpful when they're good, but the type of people who buy courses, me, I'm one of those, we tend to buy a lot of them just because we're addicted to them. I just bought James Patterson's master class. It was $90, and it was on. Have you guys seen these master classes? Have anyone seen these? I'm getting retargeted like a motherfucker.
Masterclass.com?
Yeah.
They're
so good.
Great idea.
I bought the Usher one.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're not more popular, honestly.
I'm surprised they're not more expensive.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh man.
So good. They have Serena Williams, James Patterson, Usher. Usher teaches performance. James Patterson teaches writing. Werner Herzog teaches filmmaking. Aaron Sorkin teaches screenwriting. And I think to myself, yeah, Kevin Spacey in acting, and Dustin Hoffman does acting. And I think to myself, why would I go to college if I can just get Kevin Spacey to teach me acting? I don't need to go to acting school. There's no one better than him. I don't care if it's digital. I'm not going to get a better experience from a professor than I will from Kevin Spacey, period. And this is why information now is becoming a commodity. It's already been a commodity for a long time, but it's really becoming a commodity. So what's the new thing we're selling? We're selling insight. It's not information, it's insight. If you can take the information, which is everywhere, and distill it into something useful, that's when people buy from you. So obviously, Kevin Spacey, Werner Herzog, Aaron Sorkin in these masterclasses are going to have great insight. Everyone can point to some books and teach you the Stella Adler method for acting. You know this, right? Where there's tons of acting schools in LA where you can learn these different methods, but could you get the insights that you can get from Kevin Spacey after just being on Game of Thrones or House of Cards? I know, House of Cards. I always get those. Those are two of my favorite shows, House of Cards. Although he'd be amazing on Game of Thrones. Can you get the same insights from someone, in an English lit major, like an adjunct professor in English that you can from James Patterson, who's written 76 bestsellers? Not 76 books, 76 bestsellers. He's written more than that. No, you can't. So you might as well pay the $90 and get the insight from him. And it's probably going to treat you better than a college course would. And so that's why you want to make sure that you're giving insight, not just the info. The info is everywhere. The info is Google. The insight is priceless and it's proprietary. And that's what everyone in here has. Everyone in here has an insight that will lead to a product that will fix something, that will help somebody, that will change the world, right? And so we're not just selling our wares. We're not just collecting information. There are ways that those types of things can make money. I mean, there are lots of websites that just make money because they have like a lot of traffic, and then they sell ad space, and they're not really providing any insight or much value besides just a passive platform. But we're all product creators here, whether it's digital, physical, or service. They're all really products, and to do that, we need to give insight. Now, when we're doing that, though, we want to make sure that we validate it again by pre-selling it. Before we build this thing, before we make it, I mean, and I know you don't have to like stress about this, Manish, but I really want to ask you about this. What was the pre-sale process like for Pavlok? Because you didn't make Pavlok first, you pre-sold that shit.
Yeah, for like a year.
We pre-sold that first for my apartment in Redondo Beach 2 years ago. In this case, you had a little bit of lead time because you had the 40 alpha units, and then we were going to make the real units. But like with the digital course, I mean, we did this with Front Page Formula over a weekend, which is our course on how to get media exposure. I asked people on a Friday, this is a course, the caveat is, I already have a sizable following, so of course it worked for you. Forget about that shit. Just think about the concept. I asked people on a Friday, guys, I'm in some magazines. You guys want to get in magazines too? I can tell you how to do that. Should I build a course around that? It'd be relatively inexpensive. What do you think? And we got a bunch of likes. And then we're like, okay, validated. So we basically, we sold the course before we'd even made the course, because we started the launch sequence and we had the sales page up before the course itself was finished, and we started taking orders for this, and then we completed the construction of the course. And people validated the course with their money, right? They validated it by paying us. Rather than just asking, we said, okay, we're not just gonna ask you if you want it, we're gonna give you a chance to buy it right now. They validated that it was a good way, or a good thing for us to make. Then we took that money and reinvested it into actually making the course and still made a profit.